Hello, welcome to episode 224 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 15th of September. So welcome everybody. I hope you've all had a lovely crafty week since the last time I've spoken to you, and I'm here to share all the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So today I have some knitting, some sewing, a question for the Ask Me Anything section, I have some information on my shop, and then a little appearance from Jensen at the end of the podcast. So I've got a couple of Makalongs going on in both the Ravelry group and on Instagram, and I'll leave details of those in the description box down below. But I did mention them on last week's podcast. So if you want to skip along to any section, if you look at the bottom of the video, there's a progress bar and there's actually divisions between the different sections, so you can skip along to any particular section that you're interested in. So let's get on with the knitting, shall we? So Barbara, if you want to pop over and show us what you've got on. Thank you very much, Barbara. So today Barbara is wearing my finished sparkle cardigan. This is my second version of the sparkle cardigan, and this time I wanted to do a version that was plain, that didn't have lots of lace on it, so that it'd be a little bit warmer. So the sparkle cardigan is supposed to be a long sleeve, relatively long cardigan, but I have done a cropped version which goes to my waist, and also I've reduced the length of the sleeves to 3/4 length sleeves. I just stopped knitting at the point, following the pattern, stopped knitting at the point that I wanted them to come to, minus obviously the allowance to have the cuff as well. Just added the cuff, and I worked out how long I wanted it to be by keeping and trying it on as I was knitting it, just to say, right, does that look as long as I want it to be? And obviously taking into account when your arm bends, you need a little bit more length to go around your elbow. So I changed that, and I just kept knitting it until the length that I wanted it as well. I kept trying it on, but I did allow for a little bit of lengthening of the yarn when it's blocked for the length of it, and that's a really nice length now for me. Like I said, I removed the lace pattern from the main body of the cardigan, and I really like how this plain knit looks in this yarn. This is my hand-dyed yarn in the Ocean Drive colourway, and this particular colourway is only on this base, which is a merino yak and silk, and it's actually got a grey colour to it, the yarn itself, before it's been dyed. So actually when I've dyed it with this turquoisey green colour, then you can see little bits of grey of the undertones of the colour coming through, which I think is really lovely. I'll lean it forward. I shouldn't say it, sorry Barbara, so you can see the different tones of colour in the knit. So I did make a mistake when I was doing the bottom ribbing, in that I actually forgot to change down a needle size, so I just decided to go with it and see what happened. I'd done a 1x1 twisted rib on the bottom, and I was not going to be undoing that, because on the return row, so I was knitting it flat, I was having to knit the pearls through the back loop, and that is very fiddly and very time consuming, and there's no way I was going to do that again. So I did actually do all the ribbing in the same needle as the main body of the cardigan, and I actually found that it didn't flip up. Well, before I've started wearing it, it hasn't anyway, and I'm pleased with how it's come out. I like the look of it on the larger needle. The ribbon doesn't actually look as delicate as the first one I did, but I really like the look of that, so that's absolutely fine. I followed the pattern for the rest of the cardigan really. I added the button in the places the pattern actually said, but don't forget that if you do a short version, make sure that you do less buttonholes, because I ended up having buttonholes up here and I had to sew them up. That's just a bit silly really, because I'd forgotten that I'd knitted less length, so therefore I would need less buttonholes. I normally decide where I'm putting the buttonholes myself, but I thought I'm just going to go with the instructions, and therefore I forgot that I needed to take into account the cropped length. So make sure you do modify the number of buttonholes if you do reduce the length of the cardigan. So the back of it looks like this, just plain really, but it's a really nice staple cardigan that I will be wearing a lot with dresses. I made it a short one so that it'd go really nice with dresses really. So thank you very much, Barbara. I'm going to pop it on myself now so you can see what it looks like on me. So here we are. Cardigan. It does button up completely, but I think it looks nicer when it's slightly open, and I'll probably actually wear it a lot more sort of like this rather than done up. So the buttons I've chosen are just some green ones I had out of my stash. I was going to talk about the gauge of this cardigan as well. So I didn't do a gauge swatch for this cardigan because I'd done another version of it previously, but I knew that the yarn was slightly thicker, so I'd get a bigger gauge anyway. Even though there was lace on the other one, this sort of thicker yarn made it actually slightly bigger gauge anyway. So this yarn came out 6.5 stitches per inch compared to the lace in the other yarn, which was 7. So I'd modified the size that I'd chosen according to the gauge that I'd got on the previous version. So there we go, it does fit. I did do the same size in the body as the other version, but I did go up a couple of sizes on the arm just to make sure I had plenty of room with it not being lace, and there's plenty of room in there. In fact, these are slightly looser than the other version I did. So the next project in knitting I've got to show you is my shift cowl. Now I've done quite a bit on this, but it still looks quite small. But I am loving the way the background colour on these sections is changing, and then I'm changing the coordinating colour that I'm working with it with. The only thing is, now that I'm working on this section where the background colour is solid, I don't think it is quite as attractive, so I don't know whether to switch back so the background colour is the same as all the previous sections. So the background colour is the same from here all the way to the end, and the one that I've been using with it is the same. This blue contrast is actually the same as the background here, and the cream that fades from like a mint and a turquoise is the same sort of here, and also in the contrast colour to this bit. So I've done that much. I do find actually that I was getting the edge that I was doing the increase on, the I-cord was a little bit tight for me, so I've started doing a yarn over in the middle of the I-cord. So instead of doing just knit 3, I'll knit 2, yarn over, and knit the 3rd stitch, and then when I come back to those 3 stitches with the extra yarn over, I'll drop that yarn over, so that when I'm doing the increase next to it, when I'm doing the lifted increase on the next row, I then have still got plenty of yarn to make a relatively loose I-cord, so that it isn't too tight around the edge. It is quite a dense fabric because actually some of this yarn, this one that's sort of cream with the mint and the turquoise in it, that one is actually a DK, so it is making it a little bit more dense. But I do like how it's coming out, and I am enjoying knitting with my own hand spun, which is lovely. So there we are, that is my shift cowl. That's what the back looks like, and you can see the ends that I've got to sew in. It is an unusual construction, so I believe that is the centre back, and I keep knitting until I sort of get right round to the other side, and then you end up with another edge with this squared off end, which then is sewn together. I'm still a little way off yet. I think I'm probably sort of about halfway. We shall see how long it takes me. So that is my second project. I'm getting down on the yarn a little bit. I'm hoping that I should still have enough to knit the whole thing. But that is all my hand spun, and it is in a 2-ply worsted spun yarn. So that is my second project I've got to show you, and I have a third. So this sock tube, I did actually show that I'd cast this on and started knitting it, but then my mum said, can I have something to knit? So I gave her this to finish knitting. So I thought she could just knit, make a big long sock tube and then I could cut this sock tube into 2 pairs of socks. I do have a video tutorial on how I turn a big sock tube where I've knitted 100 grams of yarn, so it's not quite finished yet but nearly there, and split that into 2 pairs of socks. So if you want to find a tutorial, I'll pop a link in the description bar down below and also in the corner of your screen as well. So Mum has knitted loads on this for me, so thank you very much, Mum. So this is knitted in one of the yarns that I sell in my shop, and it looks like this as a full skein. So it's Opal and in the Twin Summit colourway, and it's colourway 11152. It's got extracts of vitamin E, which is supposed to be good for your skin, but I just really like this colour. And this is how it knits up. Obviously if you were to knit different circumference, it won't come out exactly the same, but that's what it looked like as a sock. So Mum has knitted nearly all of this tube for me, and once she has, then I'll have it back and I can split it into two. The reason why Mum is knitting a sock tube is she doesn't really like doing lots of increases and decreases and all complicated knitting. She just wants to do some plain knitting just to relax. So I thought, Mum, you can carry on knitting this tube, and I can actually turn it into 2 pairs of socks, and that'll be much quicker for me. So thank you very much, Mum. I did ask her if she'd like to come on the podcast, because they are actually visiting for this week, but she wouldn't. She said, I'm too shy. So there we go, that is my knitting for this week to show you. But next I have some sewing to show you, and I have made a pair of trousers for Jensen. These are a jogging bottom style trouser. They're the birch trouser from Sew Over It, and this is size, actually I did a mash-up of sizes this time, because I'm finding that because he's using reusable nappies, that his bum is more like the sort of next size up, whereas the length of his leg is still sort of 9 to 12 months. But his bum is a little bit wider because of those nappies, so I did cut the pattern so it was a 18 to 24 month waist, so he's got a bit of extra room for those bigger nappies, and I did the length of the 9 to 12 months. I haven't actually tried them on yet, so I'm hoping that when I put them on for Jensen at the end of the podcast that they actually fit, so it'll be the moment of truth. This pattern is nice and easy. You could do this on a normal standard machine using a zigzag stitch, because you're basically applying the waist channeling and the elastic, and you could just do that on a normal sewing machine. You don't have to have sort of overlocker or anything. I did use an overlocker for mine, and I've popped in some elastic in there. I have used a different size elastic as well. So the pattern calls for 2.5 centimetre wide elastic to put in the cuff and the waistband, but I had some 1 centimetre elastic to hand just to try on my first pair, and I've popped that in, so it probably would look slightly neater than it does if you use the 2.5 centimetre elastic. You can see that it only comes to about there instead of being the full width of the channel. I think it looks okay. Plus, if they fit nicely, I will make lots of pairs with the right size elastic. So I think that's all I've got to say about it. I did actually use just scraps of leftover jersey that I got in my stash to make these, so it's a sort of a really cheap make, and I actually picked up this pattern in the half price sale that Sew Over It had last week. I don't think it's on anymore, I'm afraid, but I think if you're going to make lots of the same sort of trousers, they do go up to 6 years, it is worth the sort of cost of the price of the pattern. And of course you'll see it fitted on Jensen at the end of the podcast in his little section. I thought it was about time he had some trousers that were made of slightly thicker jersey, so that he'd have something warmer to wear for the winter months coming. I'll have to get him back into his lovely knitwear that he's got and start knitting some socks, I think. Anyway, that is the birch trousers by Sew Over It. So the next section I've got is the Ask Me Anything section. I've got a question from Kaz, and she was asking about my handmade wardrobe. How much of it is handmade, and also do I bother buying clothes from the shop because I've been making my clothes for so long? So I did a bit of a check, and about 80% of my clothes is handmade, mostly sort of t-shirts and dresses and cardigans and jumpers and things. But I do have some shop bought jeans and leggings and some cardigans as well. I've already bought from before, actually. I started sort of really sewing lots of jersey. I might have bought the odd thing, and I must admit I've probably bought jeans in the last 3 years, I think, because they're so easy to buy, and the ones I know they fit me from Next, instead of having to get them fitted. But I do intend at some point to do some jeans for myself, and then I won't need to buy them from the shop anymore. But 80% I'd say of my wardrobe is handmade. I don't actually have any proper knitwear that is shop bought, so all my knitwear is handmade. I've got like 35 pairs of socks, I think. Maybe there's probably about more than that. It's probably about 50-60 pairs that are mine of handmade knitted socks, and I don't actually wear those in the summer months, so I haven't started wearing those yet. I do have lots of cotton socks that I wear that are shop bought, so that is a bit of a cheat really, that I didn't count in my 80%, but I do have a lot of handmade socks that I wear in the winter time. So about 80%, Kaz. Hopefully that answers your question. I will actually, once I've had a bit of a wardrobe sort out, have a bit of a tour of how I store my handmade knits closer to Christmas, so that you can see how I store all my shawls and jumpers and socks and things. But it needs a bit of a tidy up at the moment. So now I'm on to my shop update section. So I wanted to remind you guys that the October yarn clubs will be on sale on the 23rd of September until the 2nd of October. Now I did previously say that the yarn clubs will be shipped in October on the 14th, but I'm going to change the shipping date till the 21st of October because I need a little bit of extra time to get all those advents out in the middle of October. And next week I will be putting up listings for the autumn instalment of the project bag and sock set that I'm doing this year. So the autumn one will be called Fall into Autumn. And that will be on sale next week, and it'll be the usual medium-sized project bag with free motion applique on it, and it'll have the sock set and a little couple of extras like stitch markers, etc. So that'll be on sale next week, but I will leave it on the shop for a couple of weeks to allow you to have time over payday to purchase that, and that one will be shipped at the end of October. So there'll be a little bit longer wait than normal after the purchase of these sets, just because I've got advents and clubs to sort out for in October. So now over to you, Jensen. Hopefully those birch trousers will fit.
Hello, Jensen. Hello. What have you got on today? You got your new trousers on that Mummy made? So these are the birch trousers Jensen is wearing that I showed you earlier in the podcast. Actually, they are a little bit big on the waist, but they do give him a bit of room, and they do hold up. Oh, right. So I am quite pleased with how they've come out, but I probably didn't need to go up a size for the waist, to be honest, but the length's really good. And I've just got him wearing his Elm t-shirt, which is the other sew over it pattern that I've made previously. This has got press studs on the shoulders, so it allows his head to get in the smaller neckline. And the fabrics that I've used for the trousers are just some left over. Yeah. And the t-shirts is actually some lovely fabric that I got from a shop I can't remember. And the t-shirt fabric is from a shop I can't remember, I'm afraid. And Jensen can't keep still today, but thank you very much for showing us your trousers, Jensen. And hopefully you'll have something else new to wear next week. Thank you, Jensen. Bye. So you can see how big his trousers are here. Thank you, Jensen.
So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next episode. Bye!